Who's there? Oh, stop! Mother Miranda! Hey! Who was... What was that?
Resident Evil Village, made by Capcom, is the 8th main installment in the Resident Evil series. It follows on from Resident Evil 7, which was a terrifying adventure through the Baker House. The development started on Village before 7 was even released, which is not unusual for big companies. However, with 7 being a massive shift compared to the entries before, Resident Evil 5 and 6, more action-heavy shooters with horror elements, it was hard to know if 7 was going to be as successful. Capcom did not need to worry, as Resident Evil 7 saw huge numbers of sales and hype around the new shift into a horrifying classic survival horror many fans wanted. With this confidence, Resident Evil Village went into full swing and released in 2021, taking many elements and inspiration from Resident Evil 4, a fan favourite. Resident Evil Village holds a special place in my heart, with it actually somewhat being my introduction to the horror genre in gaming. Previously, I've not really dipped my toes into horror games much, as hiding from enemies, being unable to defend yourself with fear of getting found, it's truly terrifying, and this stems from an abundance of nightmares I have in real life, and many horror games incorporate this sort of gameplay. But I really had to give this game a chance. Lady Dimitrescu in all her glory definitely helped, but I was also drawn to how beautiful the scenery was, especially in the castle. With this in mind, and some alcohol to get me through it, I can truly say that this was such a good start into a genre I now love. Each location is different and exciting. Gunplay is fluid and satisfying, and the story, while confusing, was interesting enough to keep me drawn in. A perfect mix of survival horror and action, and while having different elements can lead to complications with the game's identity, it really just worked for me in particular. Of course, I am a bit biased, but I would love to explore what made the game so enjoyable for me. Spoiler warning for the entire plot and gameplay elements of Resident Evil 8, and I will also be talking briefly about Resident Evil 7 to provide context to Village. If you like this sort of content, I would really appreciate a like and subscribe. There will be many more videos to come like this.
The man is of no real use to anyone else, and my daughters do so love entertaining foreigners. Furthermore, I can assure you if you entrust the mortal to House Dimitrescu, my daughters and I shall deliver to you the finest.
Way ugly! I want to see! He's awake!
Brother, shut the fuck up!
What? Where?
You mean you'll screw around with him in private? Where's the fun in that? Give him to me, and I'll put on a show that everybody can enjoy.
Ugh, so gauche. What do we care for bread and circuses? The man thinks suffering is assured.
Yak, yak, if a man's dick is cut off in the castle, blah, blah, blah.
I've heard all your arguments. Some of you were less persuasive than others, but I've made my decision. Heisenberg, the man's fate is in your hands.
You play as Ethan, and it follows on from the events of Resident Evil 7, as previously mentioned. For a quick rundown, 7 takes place at the Baker House, when Ethan goes to look for Mia, his wife, after she had gone missing while on a trip for work. Exploring the creepy Baker House, Mia is seemingly not right, lashing out at Ethan, even chopping off his hand with a chainsaw. As the events unfold, we discover the Baker family, including Mia, are all infected with mold from a biological weapon named Evelyn, who is an old woman disguised as a child. After injecting Mia with a cure and Evelyn with a toxin, the final fight ends with us being saved by Chris Redfield. Over 3 years after the events of Resident Evil 7, Ethan and Mia are living in Europe under the recommendation of Chris Redfield. The game starts with Mia reading a book to her and Ethan's 6-month-old daughter Rose. The cutscene animation is beautiful and really sets the tone for the game. It reminds me a bit of when the Deathly Hallows book was read out by Hermione in Harry Potter, and also similar in style to Lost in Random, a game I would recommend checking out if you haven't. After putting Rose to sleep, Mia and Ethan are about to enjoy a lovely dinner when Mia gets shot. Poor Ethan just wanted his dinner but instead gets a dead wife. None other than Chris Redfield is the one shooting, and he steals Rose away and detains Ethan. Chris doesn't give us any context to why he's doing this, and Ethan is understandably enraged by this. After all, he thinks that Chris, someone who's trying to help them, just betrayed them. Ethan then awakes in the cold snow with everyone dead around him, and after picking up the phone and getting no answers, we wander off a snowy, dark pathway which eventually leads us to the village, the Resident Evil village. After a bit of exploring, we meet this twitchy old man with a trigger finger who gives us our first gun and then immediately dies. After we get our fingers eaten by lichens, the first enemies of the game, there's this horde-like situation where you gotta run around and survive for a few minutes. It's very reminiscent of Resident Evil 4, with the bell ringing causing the enemies to flee. You don't get out without an arrow to the knee though, and meet a massive lichen named Urias. We meet this crazy old lady who tells us this.
In life and in death, we give glory.
Hello? You shouldn't be out here. It's not safe. What the hell? Hey, can you hear me?
It's you, the child's father.
Child? Hey, wait. Do you mean Rose? Is she here?
Rose! Rose, yes. She is in great danger. Since Mother Miranda brought her to the village, we have fallen into darkness.
What are you talking about? The monsters?
The castle bell heralds danger. They're coming!
No. Wait. Where's Rose? Who's Mother Miranda?
The bell tolls for us all. They're coming again!
Heading to Louise's house, we meet a woman called Elena with her father, who has clearly been attacked by one of the lichens. Making our way inside the house, most of the surviving villagers are here. They tell us that the creatures just appeared one day and wreaked havoc on the village. Elena's father ends up going crazy, smashing a lantern to the ground and setting things on fire and attacking the villagers, killing everyone but Ethan and Elena. After unsuccessfully busting out of the house with a car after the building is set on fire, Ethan is a terrible driver, we don't forget Resident Evil 7. We have to escape through the attic with Elena, but not before we watch Elena die when her father calls out her name. I don't know guys, I think Ethan might be the problem here. Nearly everyone that comes into contact with him dies. Meeting Miranda for the first time and opening the castle gate with the crests we have collected, we travel up to the castle, getting caught in a trap. Miranda is here again, seemingly leading a meeting, and poor Ethan has to sit there and watch them plot his demise. The other people present are Big Titty Vampire, Lady Dimitrescu, Creepy Doll Woman, Donna Beneviento, Fishman Moreau that excretes a lot of suspicious substances, and Big Hammer Mecha Man Heisenberg. These are the four lords, each having their own place they rule over. After Miranda decides that Heisenberg will deal with Ethan, we are flung into a death trap and have to escape. Fleeing mostly unscathed, we keep heading towards the castle and meet someone that doesn't die immediately and is actually friendly, the Duke. He is a merchant type guy that buys and sells goods similar to Resident Evil 4. Entering the mansion, we encounter three hot crazy bug women who are Lady Dimitrescu's daughters, Bella, Cassandra and Daniela. Dragging us by the legs, we get strung up in Lady Dimitrescu's room, and after getting sucked on and tasted by this lovely woman, we make our escape by breaking our hands again. Then Ethan just pours random liquid on his hands and it magically gets better. More on this later. Exploring the gorgeous mansion, we kill the three daughters, but also get our hand completely chopped off by Lady Dimitrescu, and the random liquid comes into good use again. I swear this is important. After a showdown with Lady Dimitrescu at the end, high up in a tower, We pick up a strange flask, which we then show to the Duke. Here we find something so spine-chilling. Rose, Ethan's lost daughter's head, is inside it. Distraught and infuriated, Ethan's mission is now to seek out the other lords and collect the remaining flasks of Rose. Next up is House Beneviento, and we are led here by Mia, although Ethan is just hallucinating. Finding a creepy doll named Angie, she takes all of our belongings and we are left defenseless wandering around an eerie house. After a bunch of puzzles and scares, a massive monstrosity follows us around while we try to escape. Great, another one for my nightmares. Finding Angie the doll 3 times and stabbing her with a pair of scissors enables us to get the second flask of Rose as a reward. Next up is Fishman Moreau. Of course, there can't be a Resident Evil game without some sort of sewer or water section. We steal the 3rd Rose flask, only to have Moreau start spewing lovely gunk everywhere to try and stop us escaping. Travelling further in rather than out of the water area, we meet Chris, who tells us practically nothing again other than the fact that they are investigating Moreau. After getting demolished by the fishman and draining the water in the area, we fight Moreau, killing him in the process. Heading to Moreau's hideout, we discover an interesting creature called Cadou in a jar. Following this, Heisenberg contacts us on the TV and says he will strike a deal with us if Ethan can prove himself. He sends us off to the Stronghold, probably the most infuriating part of the game, and we finally battle against Urias, who we met at the start. Collecting the last Rose flasks and proving ourselves worthy, we head to Heisenberg's factory where he tells us he wants to team up and take Miranda down by using Rose as a weapon. After declining Heisenberg's offer, we are plummeted into the depths of the factory and immediately have to escape from Sturm, a mechanical monster with a massive propeller head. We eventually fight him, and then find Chris again, who finally tells us what the plan is. Mia, who Chris shot at the start of the game, was actually not Mia, but Miranda in disguise, and that Miranda is causing the village to turn into chaos. Chris then tells us to get into this giant vehicle to take down Heisenberg, which we do in an interesting fashion. Miranda shows up, saying that Rose is in her complete form now as Evelyn, the bioweapon from Resident Evil 7. She wants to use Rose as a vessel to revive her daughter, Eva. Miranda takes Ethan's heart out, killing him in the process.
Captain, I've confirmed the death of Ethan Winters.
We switch over to Chris now, who is planning on taking down Miranda and the Megamycete, the core of the mold infecting residents of the village. Confirming Ethan's death, we use an airstrike to make our way deeper into the caves. We fight Urias again, although I'm not sure if this is the same one as before, and plant explosives on the Megamycete ready to blow it up. Chris discovers Miranda's laboratory, and there's some really interesting details in here. It seems as if each of the 4 lords were infected by the mold using Cadou, a parasite, as seen earlier in Moreau's hideout. It turns out Miranda created all the creatures, including the lichens found throughout the game, and has the ability to control them. She created the 4 lords in order to find the true vessel for Eva, however none of them were fit for it. Chris finds a jail cell where the real Mia has been locked up by Miranda. After telling her of Ethan's passing, Mia disagrees and says that Ethan is special and that he can't be dead. Well, what do you know, we are now playing as Ethan again, who didn't die from having his heart ripped out. He really is special. Waking up in a frozen place, he sees Evelyn, the bioweapon from Resident Evil 7. Evelyn finally breaks the news to us.
You're dead.
Dead? I mean, Miranda. She... No. I still have to save Rose.
Wrong! It wasn't Miranda. You were always dead.
What are you saying? I can still...
See? Miranda didn't kill you. You mean you didn't think it was weird? No matter how much you got hurt, remember. "3 years ago, the Baker house. You were murdered by Jack. You died there 3 years ago."
She reveals that Ethan actually died to Jack Baker right at the start of 7, only to be revived into a mold construct. This also explains why Ethan has incredible regenerative power. No way is sticking your hand back together with liquid normal. Awakening again in the Duke's carriage, he transports you to the ritual site to finally put an end to Miranda once and for all. Miranda has already seemingly completed the ritual, but we fight her anyway. Miranda crumbles after the fight, revealing that once she dies, everything that is infected with mold will come to the same fate, including Ethan. Knowing this, Ethan gives Rose to Chris and sacrifices himself to blow up the rest of the bomb charges. And this is the end of Ethan, the protagonist of 2 Resident Evil games. The final scene is of Rose, grown up as a teenager, and she is seen leaving flowers on Ethan's grave. Getting into the car, there is a mysterious figure in the distance, meant to represent Ethan. Ethan, being the loving father that he is still watching over her to this day.
All clear.
Rose? What the hell are you doing with my daughter?
Package secure, sir.
Take him away.
I said get your hands off her!
Ethan, no.
The story of Resident Evil Village is interesting, but not groundbreaking. It explores Ethan's desire to protect his family no matter the cost. The characters, which I'll explore in more detail soon, were all very interesting and different, but some are lacking considering their prominent roles in the game. Comparing it as a direct sequel to Resident Evil 7's, personally I preferred that a little bit more, as the Baker family's story was delved into more deeply than that of the characters in Village. I also felt more of an emotional connection due to the fact that the Baker family were just a normal loving family forced to become infected monsters against their will by Evelyn. Ethan gets a lot of flack in the Resident Evil community, and I can see why. After years of having amazing and beloved protagonists like Leon and Jill, the shift they took with Resident Evil 7 and 8 was a pretty stark difference. Ethan is quite a lackluster character, but I can't help but like him for some reason. Maybe it's his witty but completely serious one-liners, or him persevering through hell to save his family without fail. I do feel like Ethan lacks some empathy occasionally. For example, when he thinks Mia is killed, he seems more confused that Chris betrayed him rather than being upset over his dead wife. To counter this, when discovering Rose's body parts in the flasks, he is so distraught that he doesn't think it's possible.
That flask seems to contain her head.
No. What?
Rose is...
Don't say another word! This is impossible! This just can't be!
Your daughter's essence is still intact. Her powers are truly unique.
Who could even do this?
She can be saved, you know.
The voice acting is great here. Overall, he is a solid protagonist in some ways, but does lack in the fact that it's more hard to connect with his character compared to others.
Hey, Doc.
Hello, Mr. Winters. I've got your daughter's results back, and I'd like you to come in to talk about them. How about next Thursday, 4 o'clock?
No problem. We'll be there. That was the doc. She'll see us next week. Hey, now. Think positively, all right? We talked about this.
I know. We hardly talk about anything else. I keep telling you, it's not Rose that I'm worried about.
Well, then what are you worried about? Look, she's gonna be fine. I just know it. What else matters?
We matter, Ethan! You matter! You just won't.
Mia, what are you talking about? Is there something you're not telling me? Come on, talk to me. Damn it. I have to take this.
I will only talk briefly about Mia, as she takes a huge step back from this game compared to the previous one. When I finally get around to making a Resident Evil 7 video, I would love to talk about her more, as I really like her character. After being completely cured of the mold in 7, and starting a family with Ethan, both her and Ethan are not aware of Rose's special powers. This comes from the fact that Ethan is still a mold construct. Although it is strange, as Mia seems to know that Ethan is special. Maybe she knew something all along, but it's hard to know. Mia has been used in experiments again in this game, and she's been through a hell of a lot, yet she still shows so much empathy towards others. She is distraught both times when she has been told Ethan has died.
Wait! Where's Ethan?
Get moving. We have to get clear.
No! We can't go, not without my husband!
Mia, sit down and strap in.
Not before you tell me where Ethan is. I know he wouldn't abandon us. Tell me what's going on. Where? What was that?
I told you to sit down.
Where is he? Chris? What have you done?
He's gone. I tried. He stayed so we could all escape. I'm sorry.
Another thing to note is how Donna Beneviento uses Mia as a projection to draw Ethan into the creepy baby house. It's very effective, and it leads you as the player to want to find out more on what is happening. The monstrosity of the baby found within the house could be linked to how Rose has special inhumane powers. She is still a baby after all.
Captain, I've confirmed the death of Ethan Winters. I wasn't able to retrieve the body, but I've recorded evidence.
Share your screen, and I'll go over the situation. My team and I were careless. Yesterday, we took down the transformed Miranda, but we didn't kill her.
Who knew she could fake being a corpse?
Since Miranda could have infected Ethan, I forcefully took him and Rose with us. But the vehicle they were riding in was attacked. When I got to the wreck, Ethan and Rose were gone. The last time I was able to contact Ethan, I heard Miranda's voice. She murdered him, and she is not gonna get away with it.
Chris is one of my all-time favourite Resident Evil characters, and while he isn't in Village much, he does play a vital role into the story. At the start, as we know, Chris shoots Mia, but it is actually Miranda. This would be all well and good, however Chris keeps all the information from Ethan for the majority of the game, coming across as more of a villain rather than a hero, considering Ethan thinks he is being betrayed. I understand that Chris did not want to get Ethan involved at this point for his safety, but the way he does it clearly makes Ethan want to go after Rose more and find out exactly what is going on. I enjoyed playing as Chris in the game, when Ethan is supposedly dead. We get an insight into how Chris and his squad operate to try and take down the Mega Mycete. He remains ruthless, but shows just how far he will go to save everyone. Evidently, Chris is trying to do what's best for Ethan's family, but he comes across as cold-hearted, which is not entirely new for Chris, but he is just not as likable in Village compared to other games.
Miranda! You coward! Come on and face me!
Don't worry. Your death will come quick. You will join the Mega Mycete's records. I will make sure to sample your blood for later. Once dawn breaks, the ceremony will be complete, and I will become her true mother, bound for eternity in blood. I've waited so long, but dreams really can come true. Vessel or not, I can't wait to see my true child again.
After losing her 10-year-old daughter Eva to the Spanish flu, Miranda intends to take her own life in a cave, but instead finds the Mega Mycete, which stored memories of people that had been consumed by the fungus. This led her to believe that Eva could be revived, since her memories were stored away as well. Her disguising ability is something I liked, as seen with Mia at the start and during the cutscene where she pulls Ethan's heart out. This power nearly let her revive Eva alone, stealing Rose away without anyone really knowing what happened at the start. She was able to do this due to copying Mia's DNA after abducting her, all without Ethan knowing that she was actually an imposter. While Miranda's backstory is interesting, it doesn't necessarily make her an interesting villain, as Heisenberg and Lady Dimitrescu far surpass her in my opinion. Obviously, she is the one that created all the other lords and is controlling the Lycans, but her limited screen time impacts on building a proper connection to her storyline. Her design is flawless, a dark, creepy cultist-like design. She's honestly one of the coolest villains to date from a design standpoint. But she is just barely in the game, and I think it was a bit of a mistake to not have her show up more and explain more about her. She just ends up being unmemorable even though she is literally the main villain, and that's a problem.
Now, let's take a look at him. Well, Ethan Winters. You escaped my little brother's idiot games, did you? Let's see how special you are.
Yes, Mother.
Yes, Starting to go a little stale.
Then let's devour his man-flesh quickly, Mother.
I am the one who captured him.
Now, daughters. First, I must inform Mother Miranda. But later, well, there will be enough for everyone.
Lady Dimitrescu, the one that everyone came for, quite literally. She was pretty much the entire game's advertisement, and I can't fault Capcom for doing that, since it's also a reason why I was drawn in. A hot, tall vampire woman who wants one thing, man blood. But not Ethan's, because it's gone a little stale. Once implanted with Cadou, Dimitrescu gained the ability to regenerate super fast, heal wounds quickly, and grow claws rapidly, all of which caused her body to be increased in size, hence why she is a tall, hot woman. However, to keep up her regeneration, she has to drink blood and eat flesh often, which made Miranda think that if she did not maintain it well enough, Dimitrescu would mutate uncontrollably, making her unfit as a vessel. Lady Dimitrescu lives in a gorgeous castle and seems to see herself as better than the other lords. This makes sense, as she lives in the grandest place and definitely has powerful abilities. Lady Dimitrescu is very close to what she considers her daughters, Bella, Cassandra and Daniela. They are also made from bodies being implanted with Cadou. Fly organisms ate the flesh of 3 deceased women, consuming their DNA, causing them to mimic their human forms. However, they could not stand the cold, which is why Ethan uses the outside to take them down. Lady Dimitrescu gets increasingly more distraught each time Ethan takes down one of the daughters, and Maggie Robertson, the voice actor, is absolutely incredible at capturing these moments.
What have you done to my daughter?
Cassandra? Cassandra?
No! How much blood and sweat do you think it took to raise those daughters? You have incurred an impossible debt!
I do feel like her section was too early in the game, considering how hyped up she was. I guess it was to draw people in with it being earlier, but it did feel like the rest of the game was a slight downgrade compared to the castle, excluding Heisenberg's factory. I feel like she would have made a fantastic main villain as opposed to Miranda, maybe as a Mr. X type stalker. Her presence is much more striking than Miranda's, even though it is somewhat short-lived.
Don't leave. I can't let you.
You're still alive, huh? Before my friends murder you! Tick-tock! Your life song alive.
Wait!
At first glance, Donna Beneviento's character seems to be a bit of filler, but I want to explore what makes her more than that. It's not really known from actual in-game cutscenes why she is the way she is. Rather, you can read a document outside the house that explains a little more in detail what happened to her. After Donna's parents died when she was young, she isolated herself due to anxiety, making her an outcast, and she would only speak to Angie, the doll her father made for her. She started using Angie as a way to speak to others. After Miranda experimented on her with Cadou, Donna largely stayed the same, however inherited extreme hallucination powers she could use on people, hence why Ethan sees Mia in the lead up to her section, and Angie when putting an end to Donna's life. Finding out this information made me realise that her character is way more deep than we imagine. She was just an innocent woman who had so much going wrong in her life to the point where she couldn't even interact normally, and had to use Angie, the one thing that she can remember her parents by. Her trauma is what makes it so sad.
Shit! Stay back!
The exit's underwater. You're done.
I don't have time for this.
Miranda is already preparing.
Miranda sent you to slow me down? You're pathetic.
Moreau is definitely the weakest character, I can't deny that, but once again he is a sad character that you can empathize with. Similarly to Donna, he is an outcast, but is rather outcast by Miranda herself after her failed experiment on him. Cadou caused him to become the mutated fish monster that we know him as in the game, and Moreau's own self-worth was shattered due to his appearance and the way he was treated. Out of all the four lords, he is the only one that truly saw Miranda as a mother figure, and only wanted to kill Ethan to make his mother proud, despite how Miranda treated him. He also practically begs Ethan not to leave with the flask, as he says that the others will make fun of him for it, which seems like a sad everyday occurrence for him.
I'll just be taking this.
Wait! What are you doing with Mother's special child?
She's not hers.
Oh, you have something to say?
What do you mean, Mother's special child?
Mother wants her baby back.
Don't screw with me!
Wait, please. If you take it, then the others laugh at me. But if I do better than them...
What do I care?
Wait, just a little longer, please.
Just from Moreau's section alone, we can see how neglected he was. He lives in a swamp, with a small room being his hideout. Compare this to the other three, a castle, a nice house, and a factory. It's no wonder Moreau thought so lowly of himself.
Well. Didn't think anyone was left. You must be pretty tough. Huh.
Who the fuck are you?
Oh, you're not local. Even better. Mother Miranda's gonna love you.
Heisenberg is my personal favourite character in this game, and he plays his villain role so well. Of course, being voice acted by Neil Newborn helps, he is absolutely fantastic, but everything about him, design, mannerisms, and story is brilliant. With Cadou implanted in him, Heisenberg has the ability to control metal with telekinesis, making him good at building robot creatures. He is seen building a robot army to take down Miranda, as he completely resents her for using him in her experiments. He is the only lord like this, and the only one who would potentially work with Ethan to take her down, as seen when he tries to persuade Ethan to join him.
You and me, Ethan. Together, we can go save Rose, and then we can use her to grind Miranda into paste.
My daughter is not a weapon. Fuck you!
Last chance. You don't have to find out what's in that hole.
I'll take my chances.
You're futile.
Ethan obviously declines the offer because of the plot, but I feel like it would have been cool to have the option to team up with him, opening up the potential for a bad ending where you use Rose as a weapon instead of saving her. Heisenberg's factory was on par with Lady Dimitrescu's castle for me. It perfectly blended horror with combat, traversing through the magnificent factory. It is truly a terrifying place, as you never know when a robot is going to wake up. Seeing Heisenberg's army of cyborgs strung up sets the scene up so well, and shows just how much effort he was going to take Miranda down, despising her for what she did to him.
You have a gun? What? Please tell me you have a gun.
No, why would I?
Take it! Take it!
Tell me what's out there. Hey, are you listening? Hey! What the?
Like many other survival horror games, Resident Evil Village is a typical horror shooter. You have guns and you can shoot them. Simple. Combat is super fluid in this game and is definitely one of the highlights. One thing that I didn't think would be as useful as it was the block mechanic, which can help you out when you are surrounded by enemies. I use this a ton in Village and 7, and it especially helps in the horde situations. What I really like is how the weapons are not just handed to you sometimes. Of course, most of the main weapons are, but if you want to find more powerful versions of the pistol or shotgun, for example, you have to actually explore off the beaten path to acquire them. You may never find powerful weapons like the Magnum or the grenade launcher if you're not actively going out of your way for them. This really encourages you to enjoy the extra content the game provides you, as you're specifically getting rewarded with useful items. Enemy variation is actually quite good in my opinion, at least with some sections of the game. The village is overrun by lichens, but this makes sense as most of the villagers were mutated into them. The factory really shines for enemy variety. Yes, they are all similar in design, but the different mechanical creatures have different moves and do different things. You have ones that fly, ones that have incredible armor, ones that have massive stabby weapons and can charge at you from across the room, and you know, these guys. I think it's quite impressive how many variations they fit into the game without them just being filler enemies, and they all just make sense in regards to the story.
You've ruined everything!
Resident Evil Village has 9 main bosses, or at least that's what the internet tells me. Let's start with Lady Dimitrescu's daughters, Bella, Cassandra, and Daniela. The daughters do not like the cold, therefore using the environment is taken advantage of in these fights. In Bella's fight, you need to shoot the window to let the cold in. With Daniela, there's a roof you can open when fighting her in the library. And with Cassandra, you need to use a pipe bomb to break a wall. These fights were really fun, and the use of environment elevated them into memorable fights, and these were actually my favourite in the game. Next is Lady Dimitrescu, a new fighter on the rooftop. In her first phase, she switches between walking around the platform or flying around, and you can damage her by shooting at her body towards the middle. The second phase is on a small platform inside the tower. This part was a bit infuriating, because no matter what, I seemed to get hit by her attacks. This is a small problem for me in many Resident Evil games, as it's often the case where you might have to tank a few hits to get through fights due to limited space, which I personally don't like. Donna Beneviento is not really a traditional boss. You need to find Angie the doll 3 times in hide and seek. This was actually fun the first time playing, but when replaying it does get old quick. This is also the case for the whole Beneviento section. Once you know what to do, it doesn't really change on subsequent playthroughs. Next is Moreau, and I actually also enjoyed this fight. The acid rain is the one mechanic I think everyone can agree is annoying, but I actually really liked the difficulty spike with this boss, and it felt satisfying when I beat him compared to others. I like how you sometimes had to clear the path as he was chasing you, adding extra tension to the fight. Urias is next, and he's pretty easy. He swings a massive hammer and sometimes spawns lichens, and that's all there is really to it. Sturm is a creation made by Heisenberg, and he kinda just charges at you with his propeller or shoots fire at you. Once he hits a wall, you can unload on him, but like most of the creatures in the factory, you need to attack his weak point. Sometimes it's really hard to get out of his charge line, making it a little bit frustrating. Heisenberg was a very memorable fight, and while slightly out of place, it was really exciting to take control of a machine with a machine gun and grenade launcher. It is split into 2 sections, with the second section being on foot again, and I feel like it was more anticlimactic this way and should have been the other way round. It just felt weird to do a normal boss fight on foot when the arena was built for the machine. In Chris's section, there's Urias again, in a mutated form. He is similar to the other Urias fight, but Chris has to unload on him while waiting for his airstrike to do big damage. And finally, there's Miranda, who is a cool final boss. My favourite thing about this boss is when she is in the dark phase. You cannot see her until she's about to attack you, and it makes the fight way more terrifying. I also like how there's different ways to deal with her attacks. For example, the electric balls can be dodged by running around, but you can also shoot them to get rid of them. There are also some minier bosses, like the guy in Otto's Mill, who appears twice. But I really like how these are completely optional. Same with the large wolf lichens, and they reward you with money, which is useful. Overall, some solid boss fights, and definitely no shortage of them, which is always a plus.
Medical log. Revitalization surgery. This is my 18th attempt. The subject is Oscar the stable boy, 20 years old. He fell down the well while drunk. Body is in good condition. Chest incision complete. Now to remove the heart and vital organs and implant the control device. Excellent. Cadou has begun adhering to the nervous system. It's progressing even faster than before. It seems upping the ratio of meta-albumin in the artificial blood was the right choice. Now to pass a current through the brainstem using 6,600 volts. Come on. It has to work this time. Yes. Yes! Ha 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 ha! Wonderful! My creation! At last! I'll get that bitch yet. Ha 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 ha!
I feel like Capcom wanted to shove a load of different horror tropes into this game, and while it is a lot and I can see why people would not like that, I really enjoyed it as I never knew what to expect next. It kept me on my toes and made the experience more exciting rather than confusing. I want to talk about some of the horror tropes used in the game. First, there is the Horde section right at the start of the game, which Capcom loves to do at this point. Putting this at the start of the game as essentially an introduction to combat is really ballsy, and I really was not a big fan of this. Next, we have Lady Dimitrescu and her stalking us around the castle. This trope is super common in horror games, but I do think it works well here as it's true to her character. It would have been nice to see her being less scripted, maybe having her follow you throughout the whole castle, maybe more like Mr. X in Resident Evil 2. Her being quite scripted makes her one of the weakest stalker enemies in the Resident Evil franchise. She does not even come close to Jack Baker or Mr. X. Following this, there is the Beneviento house, where it's another run and hide situation. However, this time you have no weapons to defend yourself, and the baby is just so ugly compared to Lady Dimitrescu. Like, I almost want to get chased by Dimitrescu so I can look at her, but the baby, I would rather not. This section ends with another trope, which is hide and seek to find Angie the doll. In Moreau's section, you have to escape quickly across floating platforms or you'll die. This was quite effective as you never know when Moreau is going to pop up and smack you into the water. With Heisenberg's factory, there is a section when all the power goes out, and you are solely relying on your flashlight, inching around every corner, terrified at the creatures that may be around it. I honestly thought this was the scariest part of the entire game. The last tropes are more action-heavy, like the Heisenberg fight where you use the tank-like thing to fight him, and Chris's section where you have essentially unlimited ammo but are once again faced with a horde. There were loads of things to unpack in the game, but I really did enjoy most of them. I want to talk about Duke, the upgrading system and the inventory system, as it's really great in this game. The Duke is the merchant, and you can buy or sell items to him. This includes recipe to make ammo or explosives yourself, upgraded bag space, and gun attachments that improve the guns immensely, like increasing ammo capacity or reducing recoil. You can make your weapons more powerful by spending currency, increasing power, rate of fire, reload speed, and ammo capacity on top of the attachments. I love upgrading systems like this, Not too hard, but where you have to think wisely on what to spend the money on. The inventory system in Resident Evil games is always a highlight. I love having to arrange items so they fit. It feels really satisfying to cover every spot without gaps. There's not really an issue with space in Village, which is fine with me since I'm a bit of a hoarder. Another highlight is the Duke's kitchen, where you can trade animal parts and he will make you a dish to gain a tiny buff. I absolutely loved going around and hunting the wildlife as another extra task, and hearing the Duke's happy humming to himself while cooking. The village is one of the highlights for me and often overlooked, a small village that continues to expand with each repeated visit. For me, this was perfect, as I tend to get slightly overwhelmed with massive open worlds, but I do enjoy extra content that strays off from the main path. This game is still linear, but has a decent amount of extra places to explore and items to collect. For example, Otto's Mill was a highlight, a cool derelict mill on the outskirts of town, filled with all sorts of meat and fish. There are also treasures in the game. Sometimes they are sparkles you can see on ceilings or objects. I like how some of the collectibles are combinable, as they grant you a larger profit if sold when combined, but still have value if you miss collecting the other part. I appreciate that there's a little note at the bottom that tells you whether it is combinable or not. As a huge fan of puzzle games, I would have liked to have seen more complicated puzzles, as most of them were very simple. Honestly, the puzzles were probably the weakest part of the game. This game just doesn't come close to something like Silent Hill 2 Remake, for example. The only notable ones in this game for me are the ball puzzles, where you do a fun little mini-game leading a ball down a track to earn a reward. These are also easy, but at least they are a bit different compared to the rest. The only other decent one in Lady Dimitrescu's castle is where you have to turn the statues in an order according to a riddle. Others include turning some stones on a door or shooting some bells. Like a child could probably solve this, I'm just saying. Village really has the weakest puzzles in the Resident Evil series in my opinion, and something like Resident Evil 4 Remake was much more enjoyable for me. I would not really say that the music is very memorable in Resident Evil Village, and it became a problem when making this video in particular, since I like to use many different songs in different sections of the video. The soundtrack is only 25 tracks, and many are louder battle themes. The one that stands out is definitely the end credit song, Yearning for Dark Shadows, which has singing in it. Sound design, however, is on another level. It perfectly captures how scary parts of the game are, the anticipation of what's around a corner, or hiding when something is hunting you down. Even Ethan's breathing is immersive. rapidly increasing when running for long periods of time in the game. One of the most memorable sections is the hide and seek section with Angie. The dolls collectively laugh and freak out around you, and it felt exhilarating to be on a time limit to find Angie. I can't imagine what the section would be like if I was scared of dolls. Overall, the sound design is really what makes the game come together as a survival horror.
Keep moving, Ethan. There's a bomb in that thing that'll blow this whole village sky high. Hey, look at me. When I hit this trigger, we can't be anywhere near it. Ah, damn it. Mia's waiting for you. She's alive, you hear me? Alive.
Mia, I'm so sorry. I love you. Keep Rose safe.
Hey, hey. Hey. And you tell yourself. Now come on, it's not that much further.
Watch over her. Teach her to be strong. God damn it.
Resident Evil Village is really memorable to me due to it being one of the first horror games I have played, and going back to play it again after a few years, it still holds up. The combat is super fun and rewarding. Exploration is a perfect blend of open world and linear, and the scenery is honestly so gorgeous, I could enjoy looking at every detail. It has its flaws, especially with its puzzles, but it's not enough for me to knock the game down. The atmosphere is truly what brings everything together to make a fantastic experience while playing. Resident Evil Village will always hold a special place in my heart. Thank you for watching.